woman married the man convicted of murdering her own twin sister. It seems unbelievable, but that's exactly what happened in a small town in Argentina. But the story doesn't end there. What would lead someone to make such a shocking decision? Can love really overcome even the most terrible of tragedies? Don't miss a second, as every detail is crucial to understanding this real-life enigma that shocked an entire country. On July 19, 1990, in the province of Santa Cruz, Argentina, Johana Elizabeth and Edith Johana Casas were born. Daughters of Marcelina del Carmen Orellana and Valentin Casas, a local policeman, the identical twins grew up in the small town of Pico Truncado, which in 2010 had about 20,000 inhabitants. Despite their identical appearance, to the point where their own parents had difficulty distinguishing them, Joanna and Edith developed drastically different personalities. Joanna was the embodiment of extroversion, playful, determined, and always at the forefront of projects. She dreamed of becoming a model and moving to Buenos Aires. She liked to wear feminine clothes, makeup, and cared a lot about her appearance. She actively participated in beauty pageants, even winning the title of Miss Buenos Aires and becoming known in her hometown as the Young Miss. The differences between Joanna and Edith did not go unnoticed by their parents, Marcelina and Valentin. Unfortunately, this led to unequal treatment of the daughters. The parents clearly favored Joanna, investing in her modeling career and supporting her dreams. They took her to participate in various beauty pageants, including municipal and state competitions. Joanna even traveled abroad to participate in these events. Meanwhile, Edith was often criticized by her parents. Her father, Valentin, would become furious when Edith refused to participate in the same events as her sister. The parents even publicly declared that Joanna was the only daughter who made them proud, words that certainly left emotional scars on Edith. Between 2005 and 2006, when the twins were about 15 years old, Joanna started a relationship with Victor Cingolani, a 25-year-old man. The meeting took place at a local bingo hall, where Victor gave his phone number to Joanna. They started talking and soon began a relationship that would last about a year and a half. This relationship, although brief, would be the beginning of a series of events that would drastically change the twins' lives. Victor's involvement with the Casas family would not end with the end of his relationship with Joanna, but would extend in ways that no one could have predicted at that moment. In 2007, a year after the end of the relationship between Joanna and Victor Cingolani, an unexpected development occurred. Edith and Victor realized they were in love with each other. Aware of the delicacy of the situation, Edith decided to talk to her sister Joanna before making any decision. Surprisingly, Joanna reacted with maturity. She told Edith that she was already an adult and could do what she thought was best. With her sister's approval, Edith and Vitor started a relationship. This new arrangement, however, was not well received by everyone. Edith's parents, in particular, viewed this negatively. They began to nurture the idea that Edith was envious and was only dating Vitor because she wanted everything Joanna had had. Unfortunately, the romance between Edith and Victor was not destined to last. In 2008, approximately 1 year after the start of the relationship, Victor decided to end the relationship. He expressed the desire to live life a bit more and not want to hurt Edith. After the breakup, the two drifted apart. In early 2010, Johana Casas, then 20 years old, met Marcos Gabriel Diaz, a 37-year-old man who worked in the oil industry. The relationship between the two evolved quickly, and in less than 6 months, Joanna had already moved into Marcos' house. However, what initially seemed to be a promising new chapter in Joanna's life soon proved problematic. Marcos turned out to be an extremely jealous and controlling man. Arguments between the couple were frequent and intense. Close friends of Joanna began to notice worrying changes. She confided to some friends that Marcos wouldn't allow her to go anywhere alone. If Joanna needed to go out, even if it was for work, Marcos insisted on taking her and would wait. More alarmingly, Joanna revealed that Marcos frequently threatened her with a firearm. Marcos's possessive and violent behavior created an environment of constant fear for Joanna. On July 15, 2010, Johana Casas attended a party organized in her town. Marcos Diaz, her boyfriend, was present and did not leave her side throughout the event. Around 4 o'clock in the morning of the 16th, the couple left the party. There are two versions of what happened next. Some witnesses claim that Joanna and Marcos left together, having argued during the party. Other people report that after an argument, Marcos had left alone, leaving Joanna behind. What is known for certain is that this was the last time Joanna was seen alive. Joanna's friends testified that, on that day, she was with Marcos in his pickup truck. During the journey, there was a heated argument in which Marcos threatened Joanna, saying that if she did anything he didn't like again, she would see. These same witnesses confirmed the presence of a vinyl record in Marcos's car that day, a detail that would become relevant in the subsequent investigation. On July 16, 2010, a dog trainer was taking his routine walk in an area known as the Forest Belt, on the outskirts of Pico Truncado. The place was a few kilometers from the city center. During the walk, one of his dogs headed to a specific point in the field. As he approached, the trainer made a shocking discovery: the lifeless body of a young woman. Quickly, the authorities were called and arrived at the scene. The body was identified as that of Johana Casas, the 20-year-old known locally for her participation in beauty pageants. The forensic team conducted a thorough investigation of the crime scene. Among the evidence collected, two crucial items stood out: a vinyl record and a cigarette butt, both found near Joanna's body. The news of Joanna's death spread quickly, shocking the inhabitants of Pico Truncado. The case gained immediate repercussion, not only because of the victim's popularity, but also because of the violent nature of the crime. Joanna had been killed with 2 shots. After the discovery of Johana Casas' body, the police immediately started investigations. 2 main suspects quickly emerged: Victor Cingolani, Joanna's ex-boyfriend, and Marcos Gabriel Diaz, her current boyfriend. The police acted quickly, arresting both suspects. However, the circumstances of the arrests were different for each. Victor Cingolani, 27 years old and an oil industry worker, was arrested a few days after the start of the investigations. He was known for having a strong personality and for occasionally getting involved in fights and arguments. Moreover, his association with people linked to the criminal world raised additional suspicions. Marcos Diaz, on the other hand, initially fled when he learned he was wanted by the police. He remained on the run for 15 days before voluntarily turning himself in, accompanied by a lawyer. The authorities found traces of gunpowder on Vitor's hands, and sniffer dogs allegedly detected his scent at the crime scene. As for Marcos, the main evidence against him was the cigarette butt found near Joanna's body. During the investigation process, the police initially focused on Victor Cingolani. Despite the lack of conclusive evidence, several circumstances led investigators to strongly suspect him. Traces of gunpowder were found on his hands, although his defense argued that this could be due to handling weapons at his brother-in-law's house. Sniffer dogs allegedly detected Vitor's scent at the crime scene. However, this evidence was later questioned as there were no visual records of these searches. Vitor couldn't provide a solid alibi for the night of the crime. A woman claimed to be with him at a casino, but investigators dismissed her testimony, suspecting collusion. 2 police officers who could confirm his presence at the casino did not show up to testify. Edith, Joanna's sister, initially testified that Vitor sent threatening messages to Joanna. Later, she retracted this testimony, claiming to have been forced by the family to do so. Despite the circumstantial evidence and lack of concrete proof, Vitor was brought to trial in early 2011. The jury found him guilty of homicide against Johana Casas, and he was sentenced to 13 years in prison without the possibility of parole. In early 2012, approximately 18 months after the crime, a crucial development occurred in the case. The cigarette butt found at the crime scene, near Joanna's body, was finally submitted for DNA testing. The investigators were confident that the DNA found on the butt would match Victor Cingolani's, which would confirm his guilt. However, the results surprised everyone. The DNA test revealed that the butt belonged to Marcos Gabriel Diaz, Joanna's boyfriend at the time of the crime. This discovery cast serious doubt on Vitor's conviction and the initial conduct of the investigation. Moreover, other evidence began to emerge. The vinyl record found at the crime scene was identified as belonging to Marcos. Joanna's friends testified that she was with Marcos in his pickup truck on the day of her disappearance, and that they had a heated argument. These same witnesses confirmed that Joanna had expressed a desire to end the relationship with Marcos, but feared his reaction. This turn in the investigation led to the issuance of an arrest warrant for Marcos Diaz, who initially fled, remaining on the run for 15 days before turning himself in to the authorities. In December 2012, more than 2 years after the murder of Johana Casas, a shocking event captured the attention of Argentine and international media. Edith Casas, Joanna's twin sister, announced that she was going to marry Victor Cingolani, the man convicted of her sister's death. This news caused an immediate commotion. The media portrayed the case in various ways, often suggesting that Edith had a pathological relationship or was trying to replace her deceased sister. Some speculated that she was not mentally stable. The Casas family's reaction was particularly intense. Edith's parents, Marcelina and Valentim, were horrified by their daughter's decision. They began to attack Edith publicly, using the media to express their disapproval. Valentim Casas, the father, went so far as to make extreme statements. He claimed that Edith had always been jealous of Joanna and suggested that she could have been the mastermind of the plan to kill her sister. Valentim said that Joanna was in heaven, while Edith would burn in hell for her choices. The mother, Marcelina, expressed her confusion and pain, even suggesting that Edith might be possessed by demons. Edith, in turn, defended her decision. She insisted that she was not marrying her sister's killer, but a man she loved and believed to be innocent. She asked to be left to live in peace, highlighting that when she left home, no one cared to know where she was. In February 2013, the marriage between Edith Casas and Victor Cingolani became a reality, despite intense opposition and controversy. The event took place on February 14th, Valentine's Day in Argentina, adding a layer of irony to the already dramatic situation. Edith's family tried to legally prevent the marriage. Marcelina, the mother, filed a lawsuit claiming that Edith suffered from mental problems and was not in a condition to make such a decision. As a result, a judge temporarily suspended the wedding date and ordered Edith to undergo psychological examinations. The examinations, conducted in January 2013, concluded that Edith was mentally sound and capable of making her own decisions. Based on these results, the marriage was authorized to proceed. On the wedding day, Edith opted for a short red dress, breaking tradition and possibly sending a message of defiance. Only Vitor's family attended the ceremony, which lasted about half an hour. The public reaction was hostile. When the couple left the registry office, they were greeted by a crowd that attacked them with stones and eggs, requiring police protection. After the ceremony, Vitor returned to prison to continue serving his sentence, while Edith went home alone. In July 2013, approximately 5 months after the controversial wedding, Marcos Gabriel Diaz was finally brought to trial. This event marked a significant turn in the case, 3 years after the murder of Johana Casas. During the trial, the crucial evidence was the result of the DNA test performed on the cigarette butt found at the crime scene. This evidence, considered incontestable, pointed directly to Marcos as the perpetrator of the crime. Confronted with this scientific evidence, Marcos Diaz made a partial admission of guilt. He confessed to being the last person to see Joanna alive and admitted the possibility of having committed the crime. This confession, although partial, was a decisive moment in the case. The jury, after considering all the evidence presented, including the DNA, the partial confession, and the testimonies, reached a verdict. Marcos Diaz was found guilty of first-degree homicide against Johana Casas. The sentence handed down to Marcos was similar to what Victor Cingolani had previously received. He was sentenced to 12 years in prison, to be served in the local penitentiary of Pico Truncado. This verdict and sentence created an unusual and problematic legal situation. Now there were 2 men convicted of the same crime in separate trials. This legal anomaly highlighted the flaws in the initial investigation and the judicial process that led to Victor Cingolani's wrongful conviction. After Marcos Diaz's conviction, Victor Cingolani's lawyers immediately filed an appeal. In the same month as Marcos's trial, in July 2013, they argued that, with the conclusive evidence against Marcos, it was evident that Vitor was innocent and should be released. Initially, this first appeal was denied, and Vitor was kept in prison, still considered guilty of Joanna's death. This decision caused outrage among those who believed in Vitor's innocence, especially Edith. In November of the same year, Vitor's lawyers made a new appeal, this time to the Supreme Court. Finally, justice recognized that there were serious flaws in the initial investigation and that there was no concrete evidence against Vitor. As a result, after more than 3 years wrongfully imprisoned, Victor Cingolani was released. All charges against him were dropped, and his innocence was officially recognized. This moment marked a dramatic turn in the case, validating Edith's unwavering faith in her husband. After his release, Vitor reunited with his family and Edith. The couple gave several interviews to television networks and newspapers, sharing their story and trying to clear Vitor's reputation. They sought to change the public narrative, from a scandalous case of a woman marrying her sister's killer to a love story that overcame immense obstacles. Gradually, public perception began to change. Vitor and Edith came to be seen by many as an example of perseverance and true love in the face of adversity. The couple avoided talking about Joanna, focusing on their journey of overcoming. Over time, Edith's parents, Marcelina and Valentin, tried to reconcile with their daughter. However, the process was difficult, especially with Valentin, who never fully overcame the loss of Joanna and the public statements he had made against Edith. After Vitor's release and the validation of his innocence, he and Edith tried to rebuild their lives. The couple, who had faced so much adversity and public scrutiny, finally had the chance to live their relationship out of the shadows of the unjust conviction. However, despite overcoming legal obstacles and public opinion, Vitor and Edith's marriage did not withstand the long term. Approximately 3 years after the wedding, the couple divorced. The exact reasons for the separation were not widely disclosed, but it's possible that the stress and trauma of the previous years had taken their toll on the relationship. Currently, Victor Cingolani is about 41 years old. In 2020, he briefly returned to the headlines as the only case of COVID-19 in Pico Truncado, being hospitalized for approximately 1 month before being discharged. The latest information indicates that Vitor is in a new relationship, having moved on with his life after the traumatic events of the past. As for Edith, she is now about 34 years old. After divorcing Vitor, she also rebuilt her life. Edith remarried and, in 2021, had a child. This new chapter in her life seems to have brought some reconciliation with her parents, although family relations have not yet fully recovered. The arrival of the grandchild seems to have been a catalyst for a rapprochement between Edith and her parents, especially her mother Marcelina. However, the relationship with her father Valentin remains complicated, with the emotional scars of the past still present. Marcos Gabriel Diaz, the true culprit of Joanna's murder, continues to serve his sentence in the local penitentiary of Pico Truncado. Currently 51 years old, he is expected to remain imprisoned until 2026, when he may be eligible for some type of benefit or parole. If this story impacted you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share your opinions in the comments. Your subscriptions and comments help us continue to bring to light important and often forgotten stories. Until the next video.